We're a month into the books, 20% of the fantasy baseball season is over, so now, is it officially time to panic about your struggling stars? I'll tell you exactly how much you should be worried, if at all, on these players, and let's go in order of importance, meaning how early these guys were drafted, what the expectations were. We're going to start with a pretty big name, and that is Aaron Judge. Now, on the surface, you might think not too much to worry about with Judge. He's got 6 home runs and 18 RBIs so far, but he's only batting .211 and only the 1 steal. With a player of Judge's stature, and especially considering he was a first-round pick in most places, the expectations are high. Even just 6 home runs seems pretty low for Judge. Well, first, let me just get this out of the way. The 1 steal, yeah, come on, that's all you can expect. I know there was that one magical season where all of a sudden he was stealing bases, but let's face it, he's not getting you double digits this year. Now, as far as batting average, he should be doing better than this. .211 is low even for a power hitter, especially for Judge. So, will he turn it around? Absolutely. Remember back in the spring, it looked like he might hit the IL, had that ab injury, and so got off to a pretty rocky start. And, with anybody who is a power hitter, average will sway up and down. Right now it's down, but before long, he'll go on a streak. I don't think there's anything to worry about here as long as he is healthy, and it seems like he is. We're seeing everything we could want to see from a guy like Judge. Average exit velocity, 96th percentile, and the plate discipline is still really good. Of course, he'll strike out a fair bit, but he's walking a ton. And sometimes there's correlation here when a guy is being patient, trying to lay off of pitches. He'll walk a fair amount, but also maybe he'll miss some hittable pitches. Look, before long, he'll be fine. The power numbers are definitely going to pay off. Even if you don't get a 300-plus average, I think it'll be okay with a guy like Judge. So right now, I'm setting a panic meter at him for 2. Now, there is some reason to be worried about Corbin Carroll, who was in a lot of places a top 3 draft pick. Carroll's batting average is not even to the 200 mark, and the power is just non-existent, only 1 home run at this point. He is helping you with steals at least. He's got 8 on the season, but come on. When you draft a guy this high, and especially somebody who was not only unanimous Rookie of the Year, but one of the best fantasy players of all of 2023, you expect him to be dominant in every category. The thing is, the Arizona offense has been really good all season, and yet he has not been part of it, and they've taken notice he's now been dropped down to 8th in the batting order. That's worrisome because if that continues, it's going to affect his counting stats and maybe even his chances to run. So the question is this just a slow start? Or is there something more here? I am getting concerned because talk about average exit velocity again, how hard a guy is hitting the ball on the regular. Corrals is getting pathetic 3rd percentile. He's not even making hard contact when he grounds out. And there was some talk late last year that shoulder injury was affecting his power, maybe sapping him of it a little bit because his second half stats, as great as his numbers were overall last year, second half, it did take a dip. His batting average was still good, but only 7 home runs in the second half as opposed to 18 in the first half. Now, I will say this, Carroll was not really expected to be much of a power hitter. So I think if we get something in the teens when it's all said and done as far as home runs, you really can't be too disappointed, even though you will be. At this point right now, with just 1 home run after a month of play, I think we might have to settle for that unless he happens to go on a power binge. But if we look at the rolling windows for slugging percentage over the last 100 plate appearances, Carroll's slugging rate is down 142 points. Still get you some extra base hits because of that speed. He can turn a single into a double, double into a triple. But the home runs, which is what you really want in fantasy, just aren't there lately. So I'm mostly worried about the power. I'm kind of worried about the average. Definitely worried about him moving down in the order. Overall, I'm going to have to put the panic level at a 7 right now. I do think he'll turn it around, but at this point, maybe we just have to lower our expectations for him. Does the same go for Bo Bichette in Toronto? Already disappointed last year in terms of not stealing at all. This guy we thought might be a 5 category stud. Take out that speed, and now, well, we're going to take out the power too. Despite only stealing 5 bases all last year, he at least hit 20 home runs. So far this year, just 1 home run. That batting average, which you at least expect to be near 300, not there either. Right now he's batting .210. Unfortunately, that's supported by a .212 expected batting average. There is no bad luck here, it's just bad hitting. Combine that with a .593 OPS, you're going to have to wonder what is happening to Bo Bichette across the board. It's not a matter of plate discipline, at least. In fact, his strikeout rate right now is a career best, only 15.5%, but he's just not hitting the ball hard, and his contact rate is taking a dive. I'll just come out and say I'm not sure what is going on with Bichette. There doesn't seem to be any reason for this. I think that he will turn around. I'm not going to overreact just yet. I'll set the panic level at about a 6 here. I mean, certainly reasons to be worried as far as his current performance, but no reason to think he shouldn't be doing much better. But then I kind of feel like we're saying that about every Blue Jays hitter these days. This almost feels like more of a team swoon. We got Vlad really still underachieving. George Springer's numbers should be better, but they aren't. Alejandro Kirk, is he ever going to come around? You just got to wonder if this whole offense needs something to shake it up. And I will say sometimes his bats get hot in the hotter weather in midsummer. Don't know if that applies in Toronto. For now, you pretty much just have to hold tight and think it will come around. This is a guy who has a very good hit tool. He's got to do better than this. And then another high-end shortstop who is not quite living up to billing again is Dansby Swanson. Batting .238 right now, 3 home runs, 3 steals. Well, we're a little underwhelmed here, which is surprising considering that the Cubs are winning and they have one of the better offenses in the league. But you gotta wonder how they're pulling that off considering that both their middle infielders, Swanson and Nico Horner, have both been really disappointing for fantasy. Now, Swanson is, I guess, what you consider past his prime or prime age. Now, 30 years old, he should still be fine. Doesn't look like he's lost a step. I'm going to only set the panic level here at a 4 because, yeah, I think he'll do a little bit better with the bat. But also, he is helping you out big time in one category, one that we don't talk about enough, is runs scored. And that's something that is a little easier to predict than some of those other categories. Look, he is at the top of a very good batting order for the most part. He scored 18 runs so far. That's top 20 in the league. He will continue to do that. So he's helping you out. And look, 3-3, not great, but it's good enough overall the course of the season. I think he'll be fine in the counting stats. And the batting average should come up at least a bit. Now, a team you should definitely be worried about. We could probably fill a whole video of panic players about the Houston Astros. But let's focus on one, probably the one that was drafted the highest among pitchers, and that is Josh Hader, who should be one of the top closers in the game. Instead, he's giving you just 2 saves, an ERA of 7.59, along with a whip of 1.59. Now the bright side is at least he's still striking batters out, 17 Ks in 10.2 innings, but that's kind of a small consolation. The big picture here is this entire team is just in a big-time funk. A lot of it because every starting pitcher has been injured for them. The offense has been very inconsistent. You figure if there's a team that's going to get out of it, it's the Houston Astros. But we'll see what happens here. Now, there is reason to worry about Hader specifically because it's not just about save opportunities or a couple of bad outings that makes his ratios look bad. We've seen this before from Hader. In fact, just 2 years ago, remember, he finished the season with a 5.22 ERA. That was the year where he moved from Milwaukee to San Diego. Didn't take too well to his new environment. You got to wonder if there's something similar playing out here because last year he was back to being dominant. Maybe this is just somebody who takes a while to get used to a new environment. I don't know. How long will it take? Hopefully not an entire season. So you can't assume this is just going to be a quick fix. But at the same time, there are people starting to panic. It's going to be pretty soon that I'll say go out and start trying to get him on the cheap because if it doesn't turn around really soon, then yeah, you could probably buy him low. Now, Joe Musgrove is still in San Diego and he's still on most fancy rosters, but not for long because there are people ready to drop him and move on. Now, early in the season, when he made that very first start over in Seoul and got lit up, said, okay, you have to take that for what it's worth. Overseas, before the season had really gotten underway, not a big deal. But now, I think it's becoming a big deal because we've seen a couple of rough starts and really rough, but overall, only 3 quality starts out of the 7 that he's tossed. Now his expected batting average and expected ERA are in the bottom 5th percentile. It's officially not early season anymore. This is a veteran. He should be fine. No more rust, no more excuses. Are you going to pitch well or are you not? We can't point to strikeouts as bailing him out when he's hurting your ERA and whip because his strikeout rate down to 17%. It's a little odd if you look at the fact that his swing and miss rate, or some people call it whiff rate, they're measured slightly differently, whatever. Swing and miss rate in terms of StatCast is actually just the same as before. It's not down significantly. He's just not generating enough strikeouts. But even that aside, if he's going to give up so many hard hits, it's not going to be worth it. Am I panicked here? Yes, I am panicked. I'm pretty close to saying cut bait. I would like to say give him another start or two. Of course, then it might be too late for you because he's going to just hurt your ratios more. Let's see if anything turns around. But right now, the panic meter for him has got to be about a 9. And a very similar pitcher here, a veteran guy who's more of an innings eater than anything, Chris Bassett for those Blue Jays. He's currently sitting with a 5.64 ERA and a 1.65 whip. He's not getting any quality starts either. In fact, he's got fewer than 6 innings pitched in 4 of his 6 starts. So much for eating innings. He is at least striking out a batter per inning, but again, that's very small consolation when he's killing your ratios. I will say this about Bassett. I've never really been in on him. I feel like he's one of those crafty veterans that just knows how to get away with things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, it really doesn't. It hasn't so far this year. Sure, he could turn around, but there's just a limited ceiling with what he can deliver. And maybe this is the point where batters start to catch up to his stuff a little bit easier. He lives and dies by inducing soft contact, using a sinker primarily. He's not a guy who seeks to get the strikeout, but he's still pretty good at doing it. But man, he's just been very hittable this year. So obviously a lot of fantasy owners are being patient with him. He's still 90% rostered across Yahoo leagues. It might start to take a tumble soon, and I don't blame you. Right now with him, I'll go about 7.5 on the panic meter because you should kind of expect what you're getting for the most part. He'll be better some days, but I don't know if it's really going to be significantly better. If you didn't catch it already, got a new series starting. It's 2 start streamers. You want to know which pitchers you can pick up, plug in your lineup, and put in there. That might give you some sneaky value. I got those players listed right here.